About a year ago, I did a swing analysis on Nelly Korda and we went over why she hits the ball so well, and so far, needless to say, 2024 has been her year, winning multiple times. I believe 6 out of 7 events she entered, and all of a sudden, she's just fallen off. Is this just how golf works? Or is there a more serious problem? Today we're going to take a look at her swings before when she was on fire, and also take a look at her swings in the previous events where she struggled, more specifically hitting fairways and greens in regulation. So stay with us all the way to the end of the video to see what we can find out about her current motions and can she be saved. And don't forget about our 3,000 sub giveaway. We are this close to getting there, and if you are interested in entering for free online golf lessons, in the comments below put 3,000 or bust to be entered, and I'll do a drawing once we reach 3,000. But enough of that, let's go see why Nelly is struggling. Oh, Nelly. Before we get to the video, just want to take a quick moment to thank those on the screen here for supporting our channel. If you wish to support us, membership starts at 99 cents every 30 days, and that goes straight to the Halo Hood Foundation to get low-income children into golf. And if you do know somebody that enjoys a channel like this, please let them know about us, as we're looking to grow our education for free to those like you. So to get an idea of Nelly Korda's 2024 season, let's just take a look at the tournaments she has entered, and you can see she hasn't entered that many. You can see she's entered 11 tournaments, and you take a look at the start of her season. One tied for 16th, but then she went on a winning barrage, winning 5 in a row, tied for 7th, then the 6th, so 6 out of 7, and then all of a sudden you see cut. Scoring averages is 75, 71, 75. Even though she was cut, she shot 69, 67, 70, so it's there. But what about this 80 and 81? That's pretty alarming. You have to look at the tournament though. One is a US Open and one is a PGA Championship. So those are geared for consistency. And if you are just a little bit off on those major events, it can be quite costly. So let's look at her statistics. Now these statistics will also include those tournaments that she missed the cuts, but it'll still give you a pretty decent idea of her averages. So the driving accuracy is 72%, greens in regulation 73. And if you look at that stat below, the putting per green regulation is 1, so this is why she has won so many times this year. She hits more greens than most of them, and she makes most of those putts when she does hit them on the green. There was no second round stats for the most recent cut that she missed, so we have to go to her US Open. Now keep in mind, if you look at this list, there are some pretty big names on this list that missed the cut, so you can chalk this up to one rough day. But if you have 3 cuts in a row after winning that many, we have to look at some of these statistics. So if we go to the statistics, we can see that for both rounds, she hit 20 out of 36 greens in regulation and 13 out of 28. So that's less than 50% for the fairways hit and 55% greens in regulation hit. So that's close to 20% loss of her regular greens in regulation. So if you watch this channel routinely, you know my philosophy on keeping basic statistics, because if you can hit the fairway, your odds of hitting the green in regulation shoot up by 50%. But at this elite level where the top of the world are competing with each other, if you are a game of millimeters off in your golf swing, something can be off enough so to put you in a bad position where it makes it even harder to hit the greens, especially in a major. So let's take a look at some of her videos of when she was swinging great and some of her videos where she was struggling. And we're going to look at these and we're going to talk about a few things that I see that if I was her coach, I would be addressing with her. And then we'll further break it down by analyzing some of these things on some software. Pulled these videos from YouTube, and I probably am going to get a copyright strike, but oh well. But what we're going to look at, this is a good swing from when she was winning. She had a great motion going on. So we're just going to watch this swing over and over again. And I want you to watch her footwork specifically, because this is an area I want to address, and I'm going to try and compare it to how she's swinging currently to show you the differences that I see. But you'll notice that it's very balanced, it's very steady, there's no wobbling. The golf swing definitely looks in sync, it looks very rhythmic, it looks in control. And the same goes for the driver swing here, and she absolutely bombed this drive, and you can see this nice towering high draw. But what you'll notice is that footwork as well. Footwork is pretty balanced, specifically after impact, and there's something going on with her plane work that she does phenomenal that I'll show you a little bit later in the video with some lines to explain what I see and what can cause some of these issues that I currently see in her golf swing. But let's take a look at some of her swings now, and we'll start to see something a little bit different. So here's one of her swings where she seems to have a slight push with a little fade going on, and I've noticed when I was watching her replays that her misses were either fades, pushes, or overcompensation, and she would pull draw the ball. And so we have two different ball flights, but they're typically a result from the same issue in your body. It's just the hands that are either trying to save it and oversave it or don't save it. Now keep in mind, you can also hit the ball pretty well, so she still was able to hit some really good quality golf shots. However, to do it consistently with this slight little bit of motion that I do see can make it challenging, specifically at that elite level when you do miss it. Can you imagine missing just slightly in the rough at the US Open, where the rough is extremely heavy, it's very hard to get out? That is definitely going to take a toll. And then all of a sudden, that's going to make you start to think about your golf swing too much. You start to get analytical, and it pulls you away from the feel that she had. I guarantee you, when she was winning 6 out of 7 events, she had very little thoughts on her golf swing, and it was mostly feel and just visualization. But it's hard to do that when you start to second guess your swing. And here's another video of her, and you can see it comes out on the shot. She gives up on it, but notice the footwork again. We're going to talk about this footwork. We're also going to talk about the setup and the weight distribution. I see a little bit of issues that is causing her to get blocked, where she crams into herself, specifically from the top. Now we know this is a fairway wood, but this shot actually resulted in a pull draw. She missed it on the left side, and this is the other side of that compensatory move where I see can cause some pulls. But let's just try and break this thing down a little bit better for you. So here we have them side by side. We have a good strong shot left side. Right side is not as good. It is a little weak. I believe she power faded this one out there, and you can see her leaning left to try and get her body to pull it back somehow. But watch the feet. The feet really tell the tale here, and also the end of the golf swing tells the tale. If you look at the one on the left side, you see those hands just recoil back straight. The club on the right side, look at the club head. The club head loops back around as she recoils. And more specifically, what we're going to look at is that right foot action at impact and post impact. So let me just tell you, when you're working with really, really good players, it is hard because it is such a tiny thing that's going on with them. They are so ingrained, it is hard to pick apart any swing. Nothing major must be addressed here. You have to look at tiny little things such as setup flaws, alignment flaws, ball position flaws, which will eventually get to weight distribution flaws, which will also help with transition flaws, because if your weight is off, you cannot transition into your golf swing correctly. You have to compensate. Now I know that these are not exact angles. Believe me, it was a struggle getting this to at least be somewhat close. We know the one on the right side is more at a 5 o'clock angle, but what we're going to look at is, obviously, let's take a look at the setup first, and we can see the one on the left. If we draw some plane lines here and her spine angle line, which will draw right over the back of her head, and then the other one on the right side, right over the back of the head, and her spine angle line. If we draw now in red where the center of the arches goes straight up, you can see it goes almost right where it needs to be. Center of the arches straight up, you can see where they connect. Now again, this could be that 5 o'clock angle of the camera. So even if we shift it back to directly behind, I believe it'll still be behind her, which means that she is leaning a little bit too far forward. And you can tell by this angle here, you can see a lot of the weight is stuck forward on her toes. It's not directly supporting the hip joint, which will then store a little bit too much weight where those X's are for her on her toes. So when you have weight stored up too much on your toes, this could affect the way your shoulder tilts, because it doesn't have enough room to tilt as it would if you were more centered on your feet. So let's take a look at the shoulder tilt in action to check that out. We're going to go to the top of the swing on the left side, and in our favorite Barney purple, take her shoulder tilt number at the top, and then also right when she strikes the golf ball, we're going to see that angle here. And let's do the same on the right side, and I apologize, these are not synced up exactly, but we're going to try our best, and that is right where she strikes the golf ball, and we're going to look at that angle. So let's go and get our angle tool out and see what angles we can come up with. Now there is going to be a slight margin of error just because of the camera angle is shifted, but 6 degrees is quite a bit for that tour level. Now when your shoulders are not as tilted under, that's going to cause your plane to escape a little bit lower with your hands. And if you watch the action of the club head, watch the motion of the club on the left side. So we see the club is moving in a straight line all the way through. There's no sort of rerouting with the hands as they come back, because they've kept on a pretty good plane, because her tilt matched everything based on her setup and her weight distribution. Now if you you look at the one on the right side, the club head is going in a path, and all of a sudden it veers off to a different path. You see that motion of the club head moves in a completely different position. And some of this, yes, it could be the camera angle, but you can clearly see the club path is altering past impact as her body realigns to try and keep her upright. Okay, but now let's zoom in on the feet action, because the feet will say a lot of it too. And if you take a look at impact on the left side, both feet are up on the ground. Let's look at the right side, both feet get up on the ground. But watch past impact. We're going to look at the left side. We're going to see that Nike logo. It's going to be at a slight angle. So we see this foot is at that slight angle. The right side of the screen, we can see it's not at an angle. It is more up. It is more up because it could be evidence that the hips are out racing the body and not staying grounded enough through impact. And that could be a sign that because she is closer to the golf ball with her weight too much on the toes, she is having to clear the hips sooner to allow some spacing to at least salvage whatever tilt she can get. So when the hips outrace the body, then that starts adjusting the plane as well. So she has a few things, but it all stems from her setup. So you can see that setup with the weight too much of the toes causes many things in a domino effect, which will ultimately cause some path issues due to the tilting and also release issues due to the plane. So when you are running into issues with your golf swing, it's best to go see somebody, but you need to start with your basics, your grip alignment, setup, posture. Most of these really good elite athletes, that's what they check first. And I guarantee you her and her swing coach will be checking the grip alignment, setup, posture before they start changing anything else, because it really dictates what happens in your golf swing, and without doing it correctly, things can go off. Now that doesn't mean to say that that is her cure. It could be something personal in life. She could be suffering an injury, a lot of emotional issues, and that could definitely play a toll. Even not drinking enough water can make you dehydrated, your body doesn't act correct, you could be tired. So there's many things at play here besides her golf swing. And I tell this to all my students. I try and equate the golf swing to surfing. You can be out on the ocean for hours and not catch one single wave, but then the next day you show up and you can catch every single wave perfectly, beautiful barrels over your head. Just enjoy it while it lasts, because your golf swing will not be there all the time. It is going to go away, it's going to come back. It's much like the tides of the ocean. So I hope that helps you at least identify what I would be working on with the swing, but it would be something simple. But you always start with the simple things first, and then if that doesn't work, go see a coach. But if you don't have one, then start to look at weight distribution, plane work, and how it affects your path. Path and club face are always going to be the king. But I hope that helps you. I'll see you next time, everybody. Fairways and greens.